Today we're talking about Sidekick. It's Shopify's own AI-powered assistant integrated directly into the platform. Basically, you can think of it like ChatGPT, but specifically for your Shopify store. By clicking this little icon that looks like some sort of bandit, you open up a conversation with Sidekick where you can describe exactly what you want to achieve on your Shopify store with nothing but natural human language. If there's ever a time you can't figure out how to do something on Shopify, well, you simply ask Sidekick to do it. Sidekick is a relatively new feature in Shopify. It was announced back in mid-2024 during Shopify's 2024 Summer Edition and has improved each edition since. Nowadays, Sidekick attempts to take over a large part of my job as a Shopify developer. As of December 2025, you can now create custom sections and blocks from scratch, edit those sections and blocks, and even generate entirely new themes by prompting Shopify's built-in AI, all without needing a developer. Or at least, that's the idea. In my last video, I showed you how you can build a storefront the traditional way through the online store editor, but in this video, let's add AI into the mix.
All right, so in the last video, we tried to recreate this particular design right here from Figma using only the online store editor. And we had a rule that we weren't going to touch AI or edit the code ourselves. And this is basically as far as we got. So we get maybe 50% or more of the way there, but there are certain things that we can't really get exactly like the design unless we were able to dig into the code. But as mentioned at the top of this video, we have some new tools in Shopify inside the online store editor and outside the online store editor to edit our themes and our storefronts with AI. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at in today's video. Now, if I click on any one of my sections or blocks, you'll see here the latest change. This is new in the last month, actually, as part of Shopify Winter Editions 2026. But here you can see that if we click on any block or any section, we can prompt Sidekick to ask for changes. So let's do that right now. Let's look at our design and see if there's some simple changes we can make to get it at least closer to this high fidelity mock-up. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing is that the Shop Now button has a much bigger border radius. If we have a design file like Figma, we can actually see the actual border radius is 62 pixels. So we could right here click on the button block, and maybe we don't know exactly the pixel amount of the border radius. So I'm going to give an example of prompting Sidekick without an absolute. So I'm going to say, please give a slight border radius to the button. Now, obviously results will vary with this. I use the technical term of border radius, but some users might not actually know what border radius is. So they might say something like add a curve to the button or make the button rounded. Let's have a look now. We can see that, yes, it has added a border radius, which is very slight, but that is obviously not enough to match our design file. So let me try and use that absolute value of 62 pixels. So I'll say, change the border radius of the button to 62 pixels. Now let's see if we get an accurate result by giving it an absolute value. Okay, interestingly, it says no changes were made. If I click here to learn why, it'll say that it is controlled by the theme's global button setting, which has a maximum limit of 40 pixels and you can't exceed more than 40 pixels. Okay, so let's go back to our theme settings, and you can see here, it's already sort of marked it with this purple star right here. And what it's doing is directing us to our overall button style for the entire theme. Okay, so obviously the max was 40, so I'm going to set it to 40, and maybe we can ask Sidekick if we wanted to increase the maximum of the corner radius or border radius, as it's known in CSS, to 62. I'm going to try one more thing with this button, and I'm going to ask, please add in a setting for border radius to this block for controlling the border radius of the button. Okay, so this is something that I would typically do as a developer, is build in the setting so that the admins can dial in exactly what they want and have it update in real time. That's a little bit easier for a lot of merchants, I find, than trying to give a absolute value. And this didn't work, so let's have a look and see why. As you can see here, for some reason, it tells you how to do it, but it doesn't actually do it for you. It tells you how to edit your code. So if you're comfortable, again, we're trying to do a video here or a video series here where we're not editing the code at all. But if you're comfortable following Sidekick's instructions, you can follow the instructions here and add in the code yourself. But clearly, Sidekick is not going to do it for you. So we're kind of reaching the limits of what can be achieved with these Sidekick theme edits. This, of course, might change in future. I can only imagine that this feature is going to get better over time. But personally, I've found better results from generating completely new sections using Sidekick. So let's do that right now. So one thing I'm not really happy with is this multi-column section. As you can see here, we put it in as a carousel. Where was the setting for that? There we go. Carousel on mobile. I'm just going to remove that. And yeah, it looks pretty bad on mobile. As we can see here, we've got our 2 columns. It's okay, but we'd like it to be more like the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt a whole new section. Instead of using this multi-column section, what I'm going to do is let's just hide it so it's still there. And then I'm going to add in a section between hero and multi-column. And you can see here that I can click this button to generate a block, which will go into an empty section. All right, so I'm going to hit generate and I'm going to say, build me a logo list section. It should accommodate 5 logos aligned horizontally on desktop and wrap on mobile with maximum 3 logos per row. Center the logos on mobile. All right, so you want to be as detailed as possible if you're prompt here. That's the way you're going to get the best result. But if you do forget something or the section generated misses something that you wanted it to do, you can always write a follow-up prompt. All right, so it's generating this custom block, which is going to go into this empty section right now for us. And let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so we don't want a heading. It's inferred that we wanted it heading. So I'm going to remove that. Yeah, let's just do that first. Also, we want the background to be black, but it looks like it's given us those options. So I'm going to set the background to be black. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, remove the heading. The section should have logos only. Okay, so I'll hit send on that. Important thing to note here is that when you're generating these sections and these follow-up prompts, you don't want to hit save too early, because once you hit save, then you're not going to be able to write any more follow-up prompts unless you use the previous feature that I showed you of those theme edits, which currently don't work very well. So you're going to want to really make sure that the section is as close to ready as possible before you hit save. Okay, so I'm going to add in my logos now. What was it again? Versace, Zara, Gucci, Prada, Calvin Klein. Versace, Zara, Gucci, Prada, Calvin Klein. All right. Now, the issue when you write follow-up prompts, I found with this block generation, is any changes you've made to the settings in between prompts is going to be lost. So as you can see, we've lost our black background, but we can go here and put that back in. And then for some reason, our logos aren't showing up as white. Let's see. As you can see here, we've got opacity set to 70. I'm not sure why that was added in as a section. And now let's have a look at full screen, how it looks. Okay, the Zara logo is a bit bigger than the others. And on mobile, it actually shows up with the proper alignment that we had in our mobile design over here. So bravo to Sidekick for figuring that out. But yeah, we have this little issue with the Zara logo being bigger than the others. One of the things we can do here to fix that, I believe, is to set the max height on the logo. So let's have a look at our design, and you can see that each of these, actually they all have a different height and a different width. Let's just choose 35. Set the height of all logos to maximum. Actually, see, when we're setting a maximum, I'm going to use the smallest of these ones. So let's say the 32 to 32 pixels. Hit send on that. Okay, and once again, it loses all of our previously set values for our settings. So what was the list again? Versace, Zara, Gucci. Versace, Zara, Gucci. What was it? Prada, and then Calvin Klein. Prada, Calvin Klein, and then once again, setting our opacity to 100, and then once again setting our background to complete black. Now the Prada logo looks a little bit bigger, but I think you'll agree that that's better than what we had before, with the Zara logo being really tall compared to the other ones. And I think that that is a lot better than what we had before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save on that, and that's going to lock in our section. And then here you can see I'm not able to add in any follow-up prompts. Now, if we navigate back, you'll see that this is just a AI generated block within basically an empty section. So we can add in another block to this section right here. But essentially, Shopify does not technically allow you to build a section using this feature, but having a section with a single block, it works the exact same way, apart from the fact that we can't then nest blocks within this section. So for example, what I might want to do, and unfortunately now I can't do a follow-up prompt, but maybe I ask for changes here. What if I wanted to make the number of logos variable by pulling from blocks on the section? Something like that. So let's see what Sidekick says to that, but it should say that it can't do it. No changes were made. Let's learn why. So yeah, it doesn't say why in particular, but it just says that you're going to need a developer or to edit the code. Okay, so basically I can tell you, because this logo list is a block within a section, we can't make it like it was before with the multi-column of having the logo list be the section and then each logo being a column. But I'm pretty happy with that. Let's keep that, and let's try and recreate this collage section with AI, because this particular section, it was the closest in our theme that matched the design that we're looking for, but it wasn't a very close match. So let's use the AI tool to add in a section here, and let's describe as best as we can what we're seeing right here. Okay, so I'm not going to make this a super long prompt, but let me just say, make me a grid of 4 blocks. Each block should be an image, let's say linkable, with a customizable piece of text on top. And then I'll say something about the arrangement. Please lay this out as a 4x4 grid. Okay, I'm gonna hit send on that. Now, obviously with this one, we can achieve this design by using a 6-column grid and then having certain grid items expand across multiple columns. That's how it's set up here in the CSS. I'm not sure if Sidekick would be able to achieve that, and it's a little bit hard to describe within a prompt. So I've just left that out, and let's just have a look at how it does with a 4x4 grid. So still going over here, let's just wait a little bit longer for it to finish. Okay, so let's see here, image 1. So this will allow us to put casual as the text over the top. And then we can link that to, let's say if we had a casual collection, which we don't currently, but we could make this clickable. As you can see, it's added some settings that it thinks that we would like in terms of the hover overlay opacity. So once we hover over something, it's going to have a hover effect. We can change the text overlay style. So let's align it in, where was it? To the top left. Let's see if that works. Vertical position. Okay, that's pretty good. Do we want to make it a bit bolder? Definitely want the text to be bigger. But as you can see, with a combination of using the AI section generator, or block generator technically, and the theme settings that it provides, we can actually get a lot closer to our intended design. Does it let me choose the text color? Yes, it does. Perfect. Although now it's disappeared once I've changed the text color. Not sure what that is about. Okay. Let me add in some other images. I kind of need to do this to see how it looks, but it's annoying how if I do write a follow-up prompt, we're going to lose my content. So I'll put formal there. And that seems to be a bit of a bug with whatever section they've created, unless I need to change the overlay color to white. Okay, that's interesting. So maybe can I choose transparent for the overlay color, or remove that completely? Transparent, okay. As you can see, the text color is still not completely black. Maybe one of these overlay opacity. Oh, there we go. Okay. So setting the overlay opacity to 100 gets that closer to where I'm looking for. Then we'll put in the party category right here. And I know it's looking pretty tight over here, but that's just because I'm using a reduced screen for this particular tutorial. Once we expand out the window, you'll see it's a bit better. Okay, it's generated like, oh my, it's generated like 16 images. And like I said before, we can't have the list as variable because it is theoretically a block within a section. So we can't nest blocks within this one. Even though block nesting is a feature of Shopify these days, we still can't do it. So what I'm going to do is reduce the amount of blocks to just 4. Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to remove all of our previously set data, which is annoying. So once this finishes, which I'm confident it's going to be easily able to reduce those number of blocks, we're going to have to put in our content again. Okay, so yep, that reduced it down to 4. And now it's just the annoying matter of putting in those settings that I had previously. So set the text alignment to top left, the text color to black, set the hover opacity, was it to 0 or 100 that I set it to before? We'll soon find out. All right, so casual, text casual, and then obviously we want to set the link once we have something in there. Hover overlay opacity, wasn't the one, it was overlay opacity. We want to set to 0. And the text is still not showing up. I'll get back to that in a second. Let's go add in our other blocks here, formal, image 3 for party, and image 4 for gym. Okay. Now we just got to figure out why the text is not showing up. Text top left. Let's have a look if we expand our screen size right here. This could potentially be a bug. If I set it to something other than black, does it show up? No. Okay, interesting. So it might have just bugged out here, but as you saw before, it did work. So we might need to redo this again if we're relying only on AI to make this work. But if we were to save this, we can still edit the code, which I'll show you in just a second. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, it's generated it at the top of the online store editor. So I'm going to move that down to the bottom. And then does it have a title? That's the other thing we needed to add is a heading to the section and maybe put in this extra border here if we wanted to keep going with it. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I think you understand the process and the principle here. So I'm just going to hit save on that. Again, that's going to lock me out in terms of making follow-up prompts, but I can click to edit the code. And one thing that is interesting when you look at the code of an AI generated block, they're all going to have AI _gen _block and then some unique identifier in the blocks folder of your theme. But as you can see here, one of the things it does show is the original prompt that created this section. And everything is namespaced with AI dash or underscore throughout the whole block. Okay, but as you can see here, it auto generates us the schema. That's what determines the input settings. It puts in a custom web component. It does do a lot to its credit on the back end to create this custom block, but it's not a perfect system. And again, if you wanted full control over your website, you would need to dig into the code at least a little bit to get the exact result you're looking for. Okay, so our improvements on the previous video, we've now got a curved shop now button. The logo list, I think, operates a little bit nicer to how it looked before. We didn't really make any changes to new arrivals. And then we created a 4x4 grid of these images that are all linkable rather than what we had before, which was the collage section, which only took 3 images. Okay, to finish off this video, I want to show you how you can create a whole new theme using AI by using this design your store in seconds section. Okay, so if we were to come up with a prompt that matches this, what would we write? Obviously, you would tailor this to your specific brand. Let's use whatever copy it has on the actual design and use that for our prompt. So let's say our diverse range of meticulously crafted garments designed to bring out, we deliver a diverse range of meticulously crafted garments designed to bring out your individuality and cater to your sense of style. So I'm going to click generate themes, and it basically creates this little mini free theme store within our online store of different themes for us to choose from. Okay, as you can see, they're all pretty basic. They're not going to compete with the premium themes that you find on the Shopify theme store. But let's just say, for instance, this one is our favorite out of all of them. So I'm going to hit try theme on that one. And what this is going to do is create and install a completely bespoke theme. Interestingly, it's actually removed Horizon as my main theme and replaced it with this theme that it's called Feather. Now I'm going to click edit theme on that, and you can see that it will have generated some custom sections for us. And yeah, I mean, there's not much detail that you can write within a single line like this for a whole theme. I have tested this, and there is a character limit here, and it's only one line, so there's not much you can write in here to get the theme exactly how you want it from a single prompt, which would probably be unrealistic to think anyway. But it does give you a starting point here in case you did not want to go with an existing free theme or premium theme, or even the Horizon theme, which comes standard with your Shopify store at the time of recording. Here you can do all the same things of generating custom sections with AI. On top of this, we can still ask for changes on any element. And the cool thing about generating a theme from scratch is, as you can see, it's generated some custom imagery for us as well. So we might not want to put in some AI generated images here. I would think that we'd want to put in our own brand's images here, but it does give us some nicer demo content to work with than the standard placeholder content that Shopify provides. And so we can add in an image that matches with that same aesthetic that's actually unique to our brand. And as always, whether the theme or section was created using AI or without using AI, we are still able to edit the code that it generates if we understand code or hire someone that does. And you can see here that no matter what way you build your theme, it's always code on the back end, and this can always be edited by a skilled developer who knows how Shopify themes are coded. So reiterating the point again, if you want full creative control and customization of your storefront, editing these code files is the best way of achieving that.
All right, so that concludes this two-part series on building a storefront on Shopify without a developer. As you can see, while full control is limited without touching the code, there's still quite a bit you can achieve with tools like Sidekick and the online store editor. That being said, if you do reach a roadblock or want something completely custom, that's where a developer like myself can still add value. If you'd like to get in touch with me regarding more advanced customizations on your Shopify store, you can feel free to get in touch. The link to get in contact is in the description of this video. Until next time, happy selling, and I'll see you on the next one.